On today's video, we're taking a look at what happened to the real estate market in the Chicago suburbs since the start of 2023. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home this year, or you're just really interested in what's going on in the real estate market here in the Chicago suburbs, then this video is going to be perfect for you to help you understand what's going on with home prices, where prices are going, and just how competitive the market is right now. If I sound a little off today, I do have a little bit of a cold. We're gonna battle through it though. There's nothing I wouldn't do for you guys to bring you guys all the up-to-date real estate knowledge. We're not going to miss it on account of being just a little bit under the weather. So let's get into it. If this is your first time on the channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. My name is John Sintich, and I make content just like this each and every week about all things real estate related in the Chicagoland area. Now, if you're looking to make a move to the Chicagoland area or make a move within the Chicagoland area, I am a licensed realtor in the state of Illinois. My team and I would absolutely love to help you. If you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so anytime. All my contact information is going to be on the screen and below in the description of the video today. All right, let's dive into it. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the popular western suburbs and some of the popular south suburbs, because those are primarily the areas that I service as a real estate agent. So if you want specific details on other Chicago suburbs or the city of Chicago, and again, there's different markets within the city of Chicago, different neighborhoods are going to have different things going on within their real estate market. So if you want some specific data on a certain area, again, just reach out to me and I'll just send you that information directly. So we're actually going to take a look at Naperville, Glen Ellen, and Wheaton. These are some very popular west suburbs that you might be looking at yourself. I'm going to clarify something as well. All of the data we're looking at today is going to be for detached single family homes. So if you're looking for data about condos and townhomes, I can make a separate video on that if you're interested, or I can just send you that information directly. So for detached single family homes in Naperville, Glen Ellen, and Wheaton, the average days on market was about 36 days. So the average time for a home to get listed on the market and be put under contract, meaning a buyer makes an offer and purchases the home, is 36 days. This is a slight increase from last year. So homes are sitting on the market for a little bit longer than they were the year before. But anecdotally, I can tell you that outliers are skewing this data a little bit. So for example, homes that are drastically overpriced or they're just in terrible condition, they're going to take forever to sell. They've been on the market for hundreds and hundreds of days. These outliers skew the average data upward. So don't let it fool you. Competitively priced homes that are in great condition, they're going to sell within the first week. Like if they get listed on a Wednesday, they're going to be gone by Sunday. This is something I can just tell you from experience working every day in the real estate market here in the Chicago suburbs. That's what's going on. Nice listings, they're going like that. Now, homes in Wheaton, Glen Ellen, and Naperville, they're selling for an average of 100% of their list price. So sellers are still getting what they want for their home. Now, a few years ago, this number was over 100%. Maybe it was 101, 102%. People were drastically overpaying for the home. They were going over the asking price. It's not happening quite as much anymore. It's definitely still happening on some listings, but overall, that average is coming down. But still, I mean, as a seller, you're getting basically 100% of your list price if you're listing at a competitive price. Now, the reason for this is still just a lack of supply. If you watch any of my videos, you've probably heard me rant about this before. I've been talking about it for the last couple of years, honestly. The available inventory at the end of February of 2023 for Glen Ellen, Wheaton, and Naperville was actually down 30% from the same time last year. So new listings are getting snatched up quickly. Let's talk about home prices. The median sales price for a detached single family home in Glen Ellen was $525,000 over the last 12 months. That's up about 3.5% from the same time last year. Now over in Wheaton, the median sales price rose 2.5% from last year, up to $488,500. In Naperville, the median sales price jumped 6.5% from last year, up to $639,000. So prices are still rising here in the west suburbs. It's basically still a seller's market because of the low supply of available homes for sale. And we're seeing this despite lower buyer demand because interest rates have essentially tripled from the same time a few years ago. The supply just hasn't caught up, and so we're still left with the seller's market. Now let's check out what's going on over in some of the south suburbs. We're going to look at New Lenox, Orland Park, and Frankfort, some popular south suburbs. you might be looking at them yourself. So pay attention if this is an area of interest for you. The average days on market for detached single-family homes in Orland, Frankfort, and New Lenox was about 38 days. So a few days higher than the west suburbs and a little bit higher than the same time last year for the south suburbs. Now keep in mind the outliers that affect this number, as we discussed earlier. The story is the same in the south suburbs. A competitively priced listing that's in really good condition is going to sell within the first weekend. Homes that are drastically overpriced and in really rough shape, those are the ones that are going to sit on the market for a long time. And it's going to skew that average days on market up. Now homes in Frankfort, New Lenox, and Orland Park are selling for an average of 98% of the list price. So that number's come down a little bit over the last 12 months. So on average, people aren't going drastically over list price here in the south suburbs either. Again, still happening on some listings, but not how it was a few years ago. Now we'll see a home sell in the first weekend of going on the market, but it might sell for a little bit under the asking price. It might not sell for full asking price, but still selling quickly. A lot of buyers just can't afford to go way over the listing price anymore like they could a few years ago because the cost to borrow money has increased so much. By the way, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate at the time of recording this video is 7.1%. So let's actually look at home prices in Frankfort. We actually saw the single-family detached median sales price decrease 0.3% from the same time last year. They moved down to $498,250. Basically, they stayed the same. I mean, 0.3%. So we didn't see any really appreciation over the last 12 months in Frankfurt on average. However, in New Lenox, we saw a 6.2% increase in the median sales price up to $424,900. And Orland Park saw a 3.7% bump in the median sales price up to $433,000. The story is very similar here in the south burbs, still seeing appreciation, but you do get a little bit more bang for your buck out in the south suburbs compared to the west suburbs. You can see the median sales price in the south burbs is cheaper than out in the west suburbs. Side note, you won't find any relief in the property taxes though. That story is the same across all the suburbs of Chicago. All right, so where do we see things going from here? What do we think is going to happen with home prices for the rest of the year? It just really all depends on interest rates. The demand is still there, and there's a ton of pent-up buyer demand that's just sitting on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down. So if you think demand is high right now, imagine what would happen if rates came down to a point where a bunch of people jump back into the market. It's really hedging on what's going on with the Federal Reserve. Now, the Federal Reserve doesn't directly control the 30-year fixed mortgage rate, but it has a massive influence on it. What the Federal Reserve does with the Fed funds rate influences the bond market. What happens within the bond market affects the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So when the Fed does things like raise the Fed funds rate or cut the Fed funds rate or even just talk about raising or cutting rates, bond traders sell or buy bonds, and that affects and puts pressure on the 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Not going to get too into the weeds on that because I'm not an economist, but that's generally how it works. And the Fed has been aggressively trying to bring down inflation. Their target is year-over-year inflation of 2%, and right now it's around 3.7%. That was the last reading we got on core inflation, I believe. And the Fed wants to see signs that the economy is worsening and that the job market is slowing down or breaking. They want to see more jobless claims and more unemployment, which sounds terrible. We don't want people to lose their jobs. But that's what the Fed's actually looking for as a sign to say, hey, we need to start cutting rates to make it easier for people to spend money, because that means that inflation's coming down to a point where they're comfortable with. The sentiment at the beginning of this year was that the Fed was going to cut rates 6 times, which would likely have drastically impacted mortgage rates, making them come down. However, recent inflation data has really not shown that inflation's coming down as fast as the Fed wants. And so now the sentiment is we might not see rate cuts until July, but maybe even later in the year, if at all. The Fed has not explicitly stated that, yes, we're cutting rates at this time of 2024. Now, if they start cutting, we could see interest rates on mortgages come down. If mortgage rates come down to somewhere in the 5% area, we're going to see a ton of buyers get back into the market, and that's actually going to drive home prices up because we still don't have the supply to keep up with all this pent-up demand that might come if rates come down. If rates stay where they are, inflation doesn't show signs of coming down fast enough, how the Fed wants it to come down, then mortgage rates are going to stay in the 7s, high 6s, 7s, maybe even get back up closer to 8%. If that happens, because we still have such a low supply, we'll probably just see home home prices stay flat or maybe increase about 1 to 2%. So that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you found some value in it. If you did, please do me a huge favor. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. I make content just like this each and every week about all things going on in Chicago real estate. Share this with a friend if you think it might benefit them. And again, if you need any help making a move in the Chicagoland area this year, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. All my contact information is going to be available on the screen and in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next video.